Toronto, Canada. Part of it's a lot of Indian food there, and also it is like a tundra when you go in winter. There's a lot of icicles formed.
Yeah, I bet so. Okay, guys, let's start with the new ones. I want to know the new ones, the new faces. Who wants to talk?
I can go.
Hey, Claudia.
Yay.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. So I'm new to UX UI design. I just started a couple months ago with bootcamp to become a UX designer. And I'm trying to join groups to learn more from colleagues and just get a little bit more into the scene of UX UI design. So I'm very excited to be here and getting to know all your faces. I'm also starting to like think about my portfolio. So I thought like this meetup will be very interesting since I'm like pretty new.
Nice. Or okay, so you are from where you are from?
Oh, I am from Spain, but I've been living in San Diego for 6 years now. And
okay, you're in the morning right now.
No, I'm in San Diego right now.
Oh, San Diego. Oh,
yeah, I'm from Spain, but I've been living in San Diego for 6 years. And yeah, I am a teacher. I'm actually working as a teacher and just like looking for transitioning.
Nice. Welcome to this journey, the UX journey.
Thank you.
And for you guys, for the new ones, we have weekly meetings. We have some programs like a hackathon right now. Some of you are working on that. I am not sure if we have some of them just working here. But normally we have, right now we started the hackathon with developers so we can learn and collaborate in the same time.
Cool, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, so keep an eye open for next others meetings, hackathons, because we are trying to bring more that kind of problems for you guys.
Perfect, that's awesome.
And of course we have all those meetings recorded and uploaded in YouTube, so you can go and see in YouTube our last week, weekly meeting, portfolio review, whiteboard, and normally we have in the weekly meeting we have whiteboards, cool, whiteboard challenge and such like that, and also as well as you have Discord server where you can chat with other people.
Perfect. That sounds good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Who else is new?
Hi, sorry, please go ahead. I think I cut somebody off. Is that, I apologize, but if I did, but hi, I'm Mads. I am also pretty new to UX. I actually wanted to ask a question about if there's a Slack server as well for the IterateUX. Probably no, just a Discord?
Yeah, we just have Discord.
Okay, cool. I'm new to the UX kind of world. I did a boot camp with BrainStation, and a good friend of mine from that recommended I check out IterateUX. I have a portfolio that I've been working on, but I'm not very confident about it. So I'm really excited to be here today. I'm coming from Vancouver to figure out, to get some pointers and see,
Thank you. Don't worry, you are in the list, so you will be there in the review.
Great. Do you have the other one who was Nas?
I'm new as well. Hey everybody, I'm Nessie. Hey. I'm also from San Diego. Hi Claudia, we have to connect after.
Cool, that's random. That's awesome.
I started switching to UX about a year ago, kind of during when the pandemic and quarantine hit. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I feel like 2020 was not a good year, but a good year for me because finally I got a chance to do this and do something that I really like. So I'm very excited to be here. I did courses and certifications through Coursera from CalArts, and also I did some coding and learned HTML, CSS, and Java. And I'm just about in the process of, being comfortable with my portfolio, but I know that it needs a lot of, love. So I'm here and I'm very excited to see all of you.
Nice. Welcome to this journey again. And to people who is from San Diego, you can put your LinkedIn in the chat and you can connect later on. And who is not in San Diego, also you can do it. Okay.
We can't go there, but well.
Yeah. Okay, guys, for today, okay, Liz, you can go and present.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, not too much to present, I think. So yeah, this is the portfolio review. We normally have 3 people. We select 3 people that set their portfolios, and we have 15 minutes for each people with a reviewer. So I will be giving the time, so we kind of keep it fair for everyone. And we have different reviewers every meeting. And today we have Himesh, and he's a very, very good designer I met through the DesignX community. He's from Toronto. He's a very, very clever designer, very interesting always to hear him. And he went through this big portfolio change, his own portfolio, and it was like a very big, complete work. And he actually wrote a Medium article, I think, about it. So maybe you can share that link with us later. And yes, so Himesh, go ahead. You can introduce yourself and just let me know which person do you want to start to review first.
For sure. All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Liz. And yeah, thank you all for coming out to this event with IterateUX, being hosted by these lovely ladies. Glad to be here and to kind of give back to the community. I know for myself, as Liz has mentioned, going through my own portfolio kind of struggles throughout the years, I kind of know how it feels when you're just trying to make all these different changes to your portfolio and you think these changes are never ending and you never feel like it's ready for kind of the public's eye. So definitely kind of feel that for you, and pretty much doing things like these and having like public portfolio reviews and kind of having confidence is super helpful. So yeah, a big kudos to the ones who submitted their portfolio today and are being kind of vulnerable and courageous to get this public feedback. I managed to go through a couple of them earlier today and just kind of skim some notes so I can use those and also just kind of get to learn a bit more about you and kind of what you want to get out of that portfolio, as that will kind of help shape my feedback as well. A little bit about myself. I've been kind of in technology around for like the last kind of 10 years and specifically really got into UX design for the last 3-4 years. Been fortunate to work with a variety of different kind of startups, small organizations, on helping them really discover how to use design to create experiences and understand how that product market fit can work for them to make sure they're designing the right solution and making sure that they're catering towards the right people, which is obviously a very big thing when it comes to design as part of the overall product strategy. And yeah, so right now I'm just kind of working for a small bank here in Toronto, really as they're going through their digital transformation and kind of creating this omnichannel experience, doing a couple of freelance stuff, but also what I really wanted to focus on for 2021 is taking a lot of the advice and mentorship I've gotten throughout the years and being able to pay it forward and kind of share what I know and my experiences so that it can be helpful and meaningful to other junior designers who are in the kind of the same position I was in a couple years ago. So yeah, with further ado, we can get started on the portfolio reviews. So I know, let's start off with Neha's portfolio first, if you don't mind. So I'll just share my screen here. One sec. Share screen.
I will take the time, Himesh, and I will let you know when we are halfway there and maybe 5 minutes before ending.
Can you share now?
Sure, I'm just gonna have to jump right back into Zoom because I just reinstalled my OS. So in order to share on Zoom, I need to restart the app. So I'll be right back in
yes.
10 seconds.
Yeah, we will wait for you. Don't worry.
Okay, by the way, this meeting is recording and is going to be uploaded tomorrow in YouTube. So if you want to see, want to be the first one to see that, you have to go for Discord, and in the channel meeting, you can find that, the link immediately. So
yeah, and it's very good for the people that they are getting their portfolio reviewed, because they don't need to take notes. They just can concentrate in the review and then take notes later. Hey, Himesh is here.
I'm back. All right. So let's find.
Liz, you're talking?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, we are waiting for him. For
Yeah,
Himesh.
I'm just finding the right screen to share.
Yeah, no pressure.
There we go. I found it. All right.
Yay.
Yeah. So we are on the right screen. So let's start from the beginning. Okay. Let me grab my notes.
So
So
Leha, are you here? I forgot to check if she's here in the
yeah,
meeting.
she is here. I saw her in the
Okay.
thing. All right.
Okay.
So I think what always usually helps kind of before I get into this review is just kind of getting a little bit of more intel of what your background is. So if you don't mind, what kind of job are you kind of looking for and like trying to apply for?
So I'm pretty new to UX UI. Sorry, I couldn't introduce myself before because I'm new here. So I'm going to just give a brief about myself. I'm a UX UI designer and former social media marketer. I've recently moved to Toronto as well. So everything is pretty new, career new and the country new. So besides that, I'm looking for roles as UX designer or UI designer. But off lately, since I'm applying for a lot of roles, I've come across something called as a UX content strategist, and there was something called as I have that written it down. 1 second. There was something new. Conversation design intern. I don't know what that is, but it has something to do with content, and this was on Facebook. So I'm sort of applying to a lot of roles, and since I have a marketing background, I'm also applying to roles as content strategist, considering I have previous experience in marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah. So I think that definitely helps a lot and helps me understand kind of where you're coming from. And really, guys, at the end of the day, that's really what these portfolios are. They are online business cards where you get basically a lot more space to tell your story. And this will kind of apply for all of the 3 different portfolios that I will be kind of talking about today. It's really what when a hiring manager comes onto your website, what they're really trying to understand is what is your story in terms of what skills can you bring to the table, and what industries are your niche, and is this person going to be able to do the kind of task and roles that I have based on the role that I'm applying for. So this website is really giving you an opportunity to demonstrate, yes, you know what, these are the kind of roles that I want to apply for, and I have these skills. So it makes it the easier you can make it for the hiring manager to convince them that you are the right person for the role, the easier it is. So the biggest struggle here is then how to make sure that you are showing a broad set of skills that are not kind of pigeonholing yourself into one little area, but not going too broad where you're saying I do everything and anything, and then really no one kind of hiring manager will be like, I'm convinced this is the right person for me. So it really kind of takes a little bit of playing around when it comes to the content to figure that out. Coming onto this site, one of the first things that really popped up to me is really the fact that it's a little bit different. You don't see a monotone palette too often with a lot of different, with so much, and you see a lot more colors. So kind of seeing this black and white, it was interesting to kind of have that. So it is a nice little something that can make it different. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. And I can see you have like the traditional kind of bio and photo, which everyone has, and that's fine. Even mine has that. One thing I would say, which is something I've even struggled with in the past and kind of gone through multiple iterations, is kind of working on what is that bio going to be, because you want it to be, like I said, something that brings attention right away and tells the person that's on the website, hey, this is me, this is what I do, but also kind of being unique. So I would say with this, you could probably do a bit more work, as you're mentioning here that you can have a problem-solving approach to product and experience design, which is very big. Product design by itself is already kind of such a wide encompassing set of skills, and when you add experience design, most people are somewhere in that spectrum. So just trying to kind of zone in exactly, like, I like the beginning, like you bring marketing, creative problem solving. Okay, so that's the skills you bring, and what domain are you bringing it into? So kind of really hone in on that. Scrolling down, I see that you have 2 different projects here, which is, I know, like you said, you're a beginner UX designer, so you're kind of working your way up, so that's completely fine. And even when it comes to the number, I would say the probably a really good number is somewhere in that 2 to 4 range. If it's too many, then it's just becomes overwhelming, and then they don't know which one to click, versus obviously when you just have only one, there's really not much to go on. So yeah, I think as you kind of go get involved with more different projects and you put more on, you always kind of figure out what are your top 3 ones you want to show and keep those on there.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the tiles, I think when I was resizing it in my bigger, more wider screen, I noticed that it's not really happening here, but I think when it goes more wider, what was happening at this was that the image was not the same height as this, and it was a bit shorter. So that was one thing that you can definitely improve on. Just always, yeah, making sure that as you kind of play around in the different responsive designs, that it does appear to be pretty consistent, especially with mobile, because a lot of people may just be kind of quickly skimming this, maybe on their way to work or in the break time, and they just kind of like want to pass by. So make sure it's awesome on web, and it's also awesome on mobile as well. Yeah, so let's just kind of jump into one of the case studies. I do like the button. It's pretty obvious that this is a button, and you can go to case study, and you're right into it. And yeah, so kind of scrolling into it, you have like the basic summary there, which is great, always good to have, so someone can just skim through it and be like, okay, is this worth reading, or do I want to move on to the next one? One thing I kind of saw here was like end-to-end UX design. So really, what do you kind of mean by that? That was, I felt like it was a little bit vague. From after reading, I kind of understand, like you're basically saying like you went through the entire process and stuff. So really, you can just say UX design, which that does already imply that you've done all these different stages. Okay, and yeah, so just I was quickly kind of going through this previously before this call started. So kind of read like the project overview. It's just really, it's about mental health, about making sure that how do we kind of take music and use music to help with helping people feel better. So that's definitely a great way. I see you have the double diamond, which is pretty common to use. And you're basically going to use a double diamond as your framework for explaining your process. So I think that brings it a great structure to it. One thing is just, as you can see, kind of like as I'm skimming through all this, it is definitely a lot of content here, and I haven't really gotten into, okay, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? So one of the things again here is like really hone in on what kind of role you're looking for. So if you were looking for, let's say, a UX designer role, UX research role, then a lot of this content is great because you're showing that you can take all this different information, whether it's market research or interview and stuff, and you can synthesize that and really figure out what are the insights. But as I kind of kept scrolling, you're also then going through the design phase, the design alternatives phase, the UI, the branding, the mood boards. It just becomes a lot as when you're providing the full structure. So really, you have to be picky and put the kind of content that is going to be the most important to tell the story. And really, that's what it is at the end of the day. As UX designers, we are storytellers, and our main skill here is communication, and how we're communicating it is through these different designs. So always remember that, like, just like as in your product, you're trying to communicate to the user, on this portfolio, you're trying to communicate to the hiring manager. So yeah, I think like a lot of these artifacts are very good. It shows that you understand the UX design process, that you understand that UX design is not just your opinion, it's coming from the research that you do, and that should be what is helping you make the decision. So I like the amount of information here. I would just say like condense it and synthesize it in a way that is easy to read. So yes, again, yeah, experience mapping. Again, yeah, like just maybe like choose one or two artifacts, and really, it's the artifact is not there to show, hey, I know how to make these kind of things. It's more like I created this artifact because this artifact helped me make this decision on how to move the product forward. So always kind of have a reason for why things are in the portfolio the way they are. So yeah, continue. Like I see like this, yeah, there's a lot here to scroll down through. I can see some wireframes. That's good, because, especially a lot of times when people go straight into these high fidelity markups, it's like, well, did you first iterate through kind of how it should work and the information architecture? So having these kind of designs in there shows that you actually are focusing on the process. So that is good. And one of the things that you will learn as you kind of become more involved with real products, working with different roles, but marketing, development, business, etc., is that like knowing the steps of the UX process is really important, because then it provides you that structure of going from step to step, what different goals are. And as you kind of go further, and with the real products, it's not the steps that are important, it's knowing when to use your time efficiently on different steps, because some projects, there may be a lot more emphasis on user research, other ones there may be more emphasis on making sure that the branding adheres to whatever the branding has already kind of been established for that product. So you rarely ever have time and resources to go through every single step lots of times. So really you have to pick and choose how that ideal process, you're going to take it and adapt it to that given project. So with this one project, because it's a very efficient project and it's very much emphasis in the process, that kind of shows me the process. So for future case studies, you don't have to give me the entire process end to end. I can see you know the entire process, but now kind of hone in on like design alternatives. What kind of problem solving did you do here? Or when it came to the branding or to the information architecture, and really kind of show the problem solving you did in that one stage.
Correct.
And so yeah, like I was going through it, like I see like there's a lot of things here to do, and I mean a lot of content here, and it's all valuable, but at the end of the day, like people won't have the time to review it all. So if you want them to make it to the end of your case study, you want to make sure that it is going from point A to B to C to D. Everything is flowing the right way. And a good way to reduce a case study to its essentials is this tip I learned is where you just take the whole case study that you kind of want to write, and you kind of write it like Twitter threads. So try to write your entire case study in like just 10 tweets, like 6 to 10 tweets. And then once you kind of maybe like you write it in like 10 and you kind of subtract a bit, and then you kind of get it down to that 6 to 8 golden zone. And then now you kind of really have a very condensed version of your case study. And then you can take each tweet and expand that into its own little section. And then that way, you know that your case study is only really talking about the essentials, and it still makes sense, even though it's could be half the length. So yeah, I would say that would be probably like, in terms of like your case study writing, that would be a lot of my advice. One thing I did notice is, again, really easy to make the changes, but something that you want to be paying attention to is your website navigation. So here you have your projects, which takes you to the same different section on the same page. And then when you click resume, that's taking you to Google Drive. And then when I click the say hi button, that takes me to a second page. So it is kind of all over the place. People are not able to predict what's going to happen, and that can throw people off. So I did notice that you already have the contact on your main page. So if this is just can be an anchor that slides here, there isn't really as much of a need for additional page for your contact. And then maybe even for your resume, it can be a section giving a little bit like bullet point of your resume with a button to request the full resume if they want it. So that way it just stays consistent. Each link is just a section on that main homepage. And that will really tighten up that information architecture and help people create that mental map in their head of how to navigate the website.
Correct.
Yeah, we have 1 minute left. Sorry, Himesh, I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no worries. I think I'm pretty much done. So I guess in the 1 minute,
Okay.
do you have any questions? Or
The only thing is about the case study, right? So, so I've done this course from BrainStation, and we had to do this entire like case study as per what I've done right now.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to ask, so something that this must be an academic thing that I chose a call, right? I have to show each step because I had to get marked. So what you're saying is I can have it condensed in the format of, depending on the roles that I'm applying to, I have to just highlight that specific step during my process and explain that better. Is that what I should do?
Yeah, so like you can still like have the whole process as like a high level summary, but really depending on like which part of the, like when you're in a real project, you may not be doing the full thing end to end. Someone else may be doing the research, or a graphic designer may be kind of coming up with the color palette and stuff. So whichever part of the role that you play the most part in, you really emphasize on that, and the other parts you can kind of just give a high level summary talking about how those pieces fit into the work that you did.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Yeah, great review. Thank you very much, Neha, for coming.
Thank you.
All right, so should I just jump into the second one?
Yes, which one do you want? We have Kathy,
maybe? Yeah, I'll go with Kathy's one next.
Yeah, I will put the link in the chat too, and the time starts now.
Cool. All right, Kathy, are you there?
I am right here.
Sweet. All right. How you doing, Kathy?
Doing well. How are you? Thank you.
I'm good as well. So yeah, why don't you just maybe take like 30 seconds and just kind of tell me in terms of like what your story is and what kind of job you're looking for.
Sure. So I am located in the Bay Area, and I just graduated from Flatiron School for UX UI program with more of an emphasis on UI. And my current role or current career progression has been in biotech. So my goal is to, I guess, get a generalist product design role in either biotech, healthcare, or, you know, the fun stuff is like STEM educational programs. So that's sort of my goal right now.
For sure. Okay. Sounds good. So let's just jump into the website review. Okay, so right away, kind of coming into the website, I do like the color palette. It is soft and calming and feels really welcoming. So great job on that. I can see similar to Neha, you kind of have that standard like bio and image, which is pretty common and is easy to kind of convey what you're kind of looking for, what your kind of skills are. I would say something maybe a little bit similar to advice I gave to Neha in terms of just honing directly into exactly what you kind of want to do. Is it that you want to be a product designer? You mentioned right now you kind of want to do more maybe UI UX or like in the UI. So really, yeah, just figuring out what it is that you want to do and directing that within the bio. Kind of scrolling down, I see you kind of have your section here about your bio and then your case studies here. One thing I did want to kind of mention right off is what I noticed is in terms of the alignment, that could be a bit more improved. As I can see like your hello is kind of aligned here and then your bio is aligned here, but then that doesn't really connect with anything else here with the case studies. So just little things about like when it comes to that in terms of alignment to kind of make sure that it's all good. I do like that the buttons are pretty minimal, they're nice. And let's just kind of jump into one of the case studies now. So going through the case study, I can see like you have the kind of beginning summary, which is great. And I also see you have the kind of dots on the left side. And I always find that's always great because it gives me an indication of how long the case study is. And as I go through it, at what stage am I in? So I can kind of be able to track if I'm halfway through, if I'm almost done, etc. So it is good and handy to have that. So as I was kind of scrolling through it, it was really fascinating to kind of learn about the journey that you kind of went through, talking with the user and the research you did, understanding the space, the market research that you did. So it's always good to have this because it kind of shows that you didn't just kind of really have this opinion of, I want to make this kind of product. You're looking at what is out there in the market, what are the different gaps, and identifying what are the opportunities you can find. So that is really great, and it shows that you're able to really have an understanding of what is the kind of industry and market currently for the type of product you're doing, so you can hone in on what would make your solution different than others. What I also did like is like you kind of came up with different designs here of how it could kind of be portrayed, and then you kind of came up from these different alternatives, you kind of chose one. One thing I would just want to now, like that you kind of told me you want to go more into UI design, it makes sense that you're kind of focusing on all this. So it is great if you had said I want to be more into UX, then I would say that these kind of like looking at the visuals and the branding and the logo and stuff is something that would come secondaries and wouldn't be as important as kind of the information architecture, user flow and stuff. So yeah, thanks a lot for letting me know. You've been, especially from the UI side, kind of this whole visual design and understanding visual color theory and all that is important. So I can definitely see you have a really strong set there, and those skills are growing. Coming here, what I would have liked to see, especially as from a hiring manager, is like I can see there's a bunch of scribbles on this page, and I can kind of zoom in and look at it, but really it's not as clear for me on how these decisions got made. So really, I would say, if you want to kind of have any artifact, it's like what purpose is the artifact serving? So here you're trying to explain that the different changes you made to the existing UX flow that has been made, but maybe kind of break it up and just kind of hone in like, okay, this is decision 1 I made, and like kind of show the details, decision 2, decision 3. So the artifact actually has meaning, and I can actually understand what all these red scribbles are meaning. Because right now, yeah, it is way too small for me to understand that. Going on, the product, the dashboard, once again, like great mockups here. I can see that you really have cleaned up the design and that it is kind of engaging. I would maybe I would say put like the caption underneath just so I can see like what is the screen supposed to be, what is the screen supposed to be, just so really quickly I'm able to follow along, and it's pretty photos attached with what the purpose of those is supposed to be, so it makes sense. My direction. Once again, here, this is great. You kind of showed me what changes you made. So this is kind of much more useful than something like this, because I can see it started out like this, and then you did these changes, and that this is what the second version is. So that is a great way to do it. Kind of going on, like look from the user impression that you saw, people really liked it and stuff. So what I really would have liked to kind of see maybe a bit more in this project is what were some of the setbacks you had. Very, very rarely is a project all very perfect and goes fully to plan. So what was some of that critical feedback that may have came out of user testing, and what changes did you make based on that feedbacks? And really that's a very key thing that hiring managers are looking for, because they want to know that when things happen and feedback does come, how do you take that feedback and how do you adapt the product to make it better? And especially if there's conflicting feedback, how do you know how to prioritize it? So really, yeah, there's maybe a 1 or 2 kind of setbacks, so it doesn't look like a full perfect story, because it never really is in the real world. So how do you react to those types of changes? Overall, I really like the way you presented the story and the way you showed like these different alternatives and layouts and stuff. And like you said, like I think for if I was working as for a digital agency, I would say this is a very strong portfolio, because just the kind of style you're doing it in and the kind of asset generation that you're able to do, it really shows that you have this strong skills for a digital agency that would have various clients, and the way you're able to communicate with all these different clients. So if digital agencies are the way you're going, then definitely I really like the way you are making your portfolio. And if it's something in-house you want to do, then maybe a little bit more focus on that, focusing on the setbacks and kind of how you would figure out the messy parts of it. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much most of my feedback. Once again, I think your portfolio is really strong and has a lot of great things. I even looked at this case study as well. I would say one thing about this case study that I noticed is a lot of the artifacts were like the carousels were automatic. I'm not sure why they're not automatic right now. Maybe they're not anymore. But yeah, they were moving before. Maybe they're not anymore. But I would say keep it so that the person who is going through it has the opportunity to make the different changes. I guess especially like if it's continuing to auto slide on itself, then it becomes a little bit distracting sometimes if I'm like kind of reading from the beginning up here and like this is already moving. So just one small thing to note about. But yeah, overall, I would say a lot of good things. Just kind of work on the small little things I talked about, and once again, yeah, just hone in on this is the kind of job I want. So based on these skills, this is what I want to kind of show to the hiring manager, and yeah, that's what it is at the end of the day. How are you doing at time, Liz?
We have 5 minutes left.
Sure. So I guess yeah, I can definitely open that up for answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, sure. So since I'm sort of aiming for a generalist role, I know my focus was UI. Would you recommend me incorporating more artifacts in terms of the UX research side of things? Like, is it too?
So when you say generalist, what do you mean by that?
I'm going for a combination of UX and UI.
Okay.
So it's like I know for the program I focused on UI, but I want to be able to.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is like I know you have the two projects here. I would say like focus one maybe a bit more on UX and then one on the UI. So then that way people can get a taste of both of your kind of things where if they want to see more of the UI, they can kind of come here. If they want to see more of the UX, they come here. And then even when it comes to UI, even like your website's design is already showing a lot of your skills when it comes to UI. So they will look at your website's visual design as an extension of what your skills are as a UI designer. So that can also kind of come in handy as well. And I would say like, then kind of when it comes to the bio, really kind of focus on that. You're able to both do the UX and UI, and what your main value that you're being able to provide is that you are able to kind of solve problems and tackle anything that kind of comes at you with your creative problem solving, and then the tools of UX and UI are kind of what you use to solve these problems.
Great, cool. No, that was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Great, Himesh, I have a last question about about that. So she's introducing herself as a product designer. She's applying for a UX UI job. So what do you suggest for her to put there in her bio? Because product designer is something to do about the business side, no, like more like the product roadmap. So what is your recommendation there?
Definitely. So yeah, I would definitely change it to UX designer or like a UX/UI designer if that's the kind of way you want to go with. The term product designer is a relatively new term, and it does encompass both UX, UI, it's a little bit of service design, business strategy and stuff. So I would say a lot of times people start off as a UX or UI designer and then kind of developed into a product designer as they get a bigger skill set and get more involved at working on the actual product decisions. And so even I think for myself as well, like initially I had my website as a product designer and I switched it to UX designer as that is kind of where I can show my skills. So it can kind of sometimes work the opposite way for you if you kind of position yourself as a product designer, but then your case studies are not showing the product design, then there is that disconnect of what you're kind of advertising. So yeah, really I would say like take a look at some maybe articles of like exactly this is what a product designer does, this is what a UX designer does, and then understand which persona do I want to align with more.
Great, thank you, Himesh. Yeah, so we had the last portfolio. Mats, I think I sent you the link now.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Yes.
Put that one on. All right.
Mats is very nervous.
Hello, Mads.
Hi. Should I introduce myself again?
Actually, you already introduced yourself. I guess just maybe
Sure.
like, once again, like just give me like a 30-second pitch of what kind of roles are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am looking more for like user research. And yeah, I'm not looking for UX UI stuff. But yeah, so I come from a sociology background, so I'm looking more to do like research. And I guess yeah, I guess product designer is also something I've been told like to market myself as, but yeah, it's, I don't know, hearing what you just said was like pretty insightful about it being like a relatively new role.
Sure. Yeah, that's all good. And I think for being like a UX designer, having that background in sociology and psychology is very useful, because really as a UX designer, one of your main kind of roles is understanding people and their behaviors and how they're making decisions. So then you're able to take these findings to create interfaces that accommodate these kind of behaviors. So being able to have that background research and of how people think is directly applicable to this role. So it's a good path to be on. Looking at your portfolio now, I just got this a bit more later, so I'll just kind of be giving a bit more of a review based on just kind of what I see right now. So right away, empathetic design to make the world a bit nicer. Hi, Mads. I do like the title. It really catches me. The name, you have a nice hierarchy of how you're kind of going through it. So I would say it's a pretty strong opening. And I know like previously the last two ones we kind of saw the name and then the kind of photo. So it is nice to kind of change it up. I've seen with photos, without photos, with names, without names. So it's at the end of the day, it's really up to you and kind of how you want it to present yourself. Scrolling down to the different projects, I would say here is a bit more tightening up. I would study different like grid patterns, because a designer that knows how to utilize grids is going to be always a powerful designer, because when it comes to code and how these things are actually implemented from design, everything is done on a grid-based system. So I know when it comes to like Photoshop and Illustrator, you can kind of put things everywhere, but when it comes to code, it's all about the kind of grid layout. So Bootstrap, everyone knows, kind of has like the column grid, and you have Flexbox. So here I can see like it is kind of a grid, but like you can see like this is much more longer, and then this is much more shorter. So these columns are not the same width, and then that way, and like here back and forth. So here kind of this is overlaying here. So it just doesn't look as tight, and then because of that, it's not as easy to kind of right away see, okay, what's going on. So definitely look into that and see how that can be improved. So let's just kind of jump into one of these case studies. One thing I did notice is I was looking at how the read more button is kind of hidden in this hover, which looks kind of interesting. But then I went into private browsing to kind of see, I'm not private browsing, what do you call it? Responsive designed to kind of see how it would look on a phone, and I saw that it is not really adapting to phone design. So that was one thing to definitely look at and make sure that when it comes onto a smaller mobile display that it does change its layout to do that. Right now it doesn't, and like there's a lot of horizontal scrolling. So if someone had opened his website on the phone, then they wouldn't be as inclined to continue going on, and they'd be like, you know what, I'll check this out when I go to the computer, which that may never happen, as hiring managers, recruiters are busy all the time, and any kind of friction they have is a reason to kind of go past and start opening an next portfolio. So yeah, just take a look at how it can be done more on mobile, and always remember, like when it comes to mobile, you don't have that ability to hover. So how are you accommodating to make the navigation still smooth when it is on that mobile interface? So yeah, let's just jump into the case study here. So retro office, native app to bring together, packed with themes, define, search. So I see here you kind of have the double diamond, but it's kind of a different format. One thing I would say, and this is probably can even apply for Neha's one, is the double diamond process is a great way to understand in your mind how you should design and go through the different phases of a project. But what would take it to the next level is just, instead of putting an image of it, how did you actually use this double diamond process to go through your application? Like, what did you do in the discovery? What did you do in define? Just having the process, everyone already knows. Discovery, you do this stuff, you do research, and define, you define. So this is kind of redundant to kind of just have the image here itself if you're not showing how you're applying this to your own project. And so yeah, so kind of scrolling down. Again, like when it comes to I think I know you, because you're going into more user research, you want to be really showing how you're able to do research, how you're able to take research from the different types of categories. When it's like the market research you can do research from journals and academic papers, you can do research from talking to people, surveys and stuff. So how do you kind of put together different types of research and synthesize it in ways that is understandable? So I do like this kind of call out, how might we encourage employees to socialize more? So from like, if I didn't have time and I had to skim this, I can still, this catches my attention and I can read this easily, and I right away kind of tells me what we want to do is socialize more and lessen feelings. So I do like the call out, maybe reduce the text a bit, because like when you make everything bold, then it's like, what is the value of the things that are bold? It just, the bold things don't really stick out to me because there's just too many things that are bold. So maybe we break it into 3 lines. How might we, 1, 2, 3. So people always, the easier you can make it for them to read and communicate, the more inclined they will be to continue going on and reading the rest of your case study. Going through intentionally, yeah, this is great stuff. One thing is always kind of just make sure, like, really pay attention to little things like the padding here, like the spacing here is very tight here, makes it harder to read. So, and then one, I think I also showed this when it came to Kathy's thing is, and this would apply for the grid system. Here it's like a 3 column, 1, 2, 3, and here you kind of have like a 2 column going with some space. So it just doesn't flow as nicely as you're reading. Visual hierarchy is huge, and that is, the more organized the content is, the easier it is for our brains to be able to digest it and read it in a way that makes sense. So yeah, just being able to paying attention to that. So I know that, like, you're just kind of starting out and this is kind of rough work. So all these great things which are you can like definitely improve on. Content is number 1, the most important piece. So if your content is good, then the other stuff won't matter as much. So focus number 1, content, and then number 2 on kind of the layout, and like number 3 on and like the colors and the font sizes and all that. So definitely I can see that you are doing a bunch of research and that you are able to understand how to utilize these tools such as experience mapping, etc. One thing I would kind of want to just say is, as you kind of start going through all this, because you have a lot of information, same thing I said, as a reduce information and also kind of provide a summary at the end of each stage. So from like this define stage, you did all this stuff. So what was the output of the define stage that you fed into the developed stage? So then as the person who's reading it, I can see like, okay, you did this, and then basically from this output, you were able to do this, etc. So if someone is skimming your case study or reading the full thing, they should still have a general idea of what you're doing. So the person who's reading it slowly can get the details, but the person who's skimming still understands, okay, you went from this process and you did this and you did this, which for right now, like everything is kind of on the same level. So I don't know at what point I should stop and like skim and then go on to the next point and skim, because everything is asking for my attention at the same kind of level. So improving that visual hierarchy is something that's going to make it a lot more easier to help people skim through it. Yeah, just kind of scrolling through the steps. So again, I always tell people to have next steps and reflection, because rarely is a project going to go exactly the way you want, and there's always room for improving. So having these kind of sections show people that you're thinking beyond just the scope of this project. You're thinking of, if this was real, what would I do? If I had more time, what would I do? Because that shows these are the trade-offs I made, and that's in the real world. That's what it's always going to be. It's always trade-offs, always going to be made, whether it's the time, the developer's time, the budget time, the marketing deadline, etc. So having this is really key. Yeah. So let me just kind of go through here. What's this about? You do. Touch. So yeah, I would say overall there is a lot of passion here. I can see a lot of curiosity, and the concept and like the skills of design are interesting to you, and I can see that you are able to take these processes that you've learned and apply them to your own setting with this project, and then just kind of taking the feedback I've given you of being able to use the grid structure, condense the condensed information, link it together, and tell that story. It will really make it flow a lot better. And as you can kind of see within all these 3 different case studies, it's pretty much been the same advice at the high level, and then just I've been giving more specific things based on your different circumstances. But at a high level, what it is hiring managers want to know what is your story, and they want to know it in an easy format that's digestible to them. So that is what you have to deliver to them. And it's kind of, when you think about it, as in all these case studies I've read, where you're like, okay, this is the user, this is the user persona, this is what the user wants, this is what the user frustrations are. Just take that same ideas and concepts that you guys have and apply them to the case study itself, and then think of the case study as a design project and the hiring manager as the user, and then cater it to what they want. And that will help you sell yourself as the product to them easier.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this was super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left, so
yeah, if you have a question, I'm happy to answer.
Honestly, I'm kind of still processing.
No worries, it was a lot.
Yeah, I guess actually, I mean, do you think that I guess like about like left aligning everything? I know they say like I'm always still a little bit like on the fence about like left aligning things versus center aligning things. So like even my top, like if you scroll all the way up, like empathetic design and make the world a bit nicer. Like, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of is like, somebody told me that it would be better to left align it instead of centering it.
Isn't it all left aligned right now?
It is left aligned, but my intuition is to center it.
So actually, this is great because like I was like maybe like a month or two ago, I was like looking at my own portfolio and like debating between the whole left align, center align stuff, and what conclusion I came up with was for almost everything, left align is better because that's how we read newspapers, that's how we read books, and that's how we read articles. And when it comes to center aligning it, you want to be intentional with your center aligning when you want to call attention to it and give it the extra attention by center aligning it. So as they're reading, they get caught off guard and then eyes come. So if you're kind of going through a project, so if I kind of go into your thing, as you're going through it, like the button here, center line. So as I'm going, it's not in my flow center line. So this button is bringing a lot of attention to me and makes me want to click it. Obviously, it's also yellow as well. Or even when you have, again here, like center line here makes sense. So having like majority of things left aligned and then being intentional, center aligning it when you want to call things out, similar to like a news article on a website is kind of the way to go. You rarely ever want to center align a full paragraph because then that's just going to make it very hard to read, because as you go from one line to come back to the next line, you don't know where the next line starts because it's not always starting at the same width and distance away from the edge of the screen.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that really helps.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, Himesh. It was you managed your time very well. Like it's 8:29. Congratulations. It was amazing. With Mike, we had to cut him in some point.
Yeah, he was telling me.
No, thank you very much, Himesh. It was very, very good review. Yes, as I told everyone, he made a very big change in his portfolio too, and he wrote an article. So he made it you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
share that.
I'm just gonna link that in the chat right now, and you guys can read it.
Nice.
It was let's see where did I put it? Yeah, it was like for me myself, like I probably went through like 3 big iterations of my portfolio, and originally coming from an engineering background, like I had this really fancy site where I was like generating it myself, and like it was kind of like using like this blogging platform, and I was pretty proud that I fully coded it. And then as I was like kind of always making edits, it was hard to make edits because it was then code. So then I made the decision to kind of switch it into Webflow and do it in there. And that really helped me express my creativity a lot more because I was able to not focus on the kind of code and the infrastructure, and I was able to really focus on the design. The process that I've used for my own thing, which has been handy for me, is I kind of do my portfolio now like in 3 stages. So number 1 is I do it in Google Docs, where focus on content, because as I said, like content is king. If you don't have a good story to tell with your words, then your visual embellishments are not going to make it any better. So I just really focus on writing the whole thing out, and then I'll read it, and then I'll be like, okay, now how do I cut half this out? Because half this is probably not necessary. And then I try to reduce it half in length and really try to, not, rather than talking about what I did, I always try focusing on this is what happened. And then because this happened, I needed to make this decision. So I made this decision. And then after I made this decision, this happened and I made this decision. So it's, I know a lot of people who are coming from like a scientific background, it's very easy to just keep talking about what you did and how you observed it. So people don't really want to know what you did. People want to know what decisions you made. So always kind of focus on that, and that's going to help you really reduce your fluff. And then number 2, once I have everything in Google Docs, and like I'll have like, here's content, here's a photo, here's content, here's photo, I'll go into Figma, or you can go to Sketch, whatever your design tool is, and I'll like take and I'll create text layers. So then now I'm able to freely move everything around. And I'm like, okay, so here's my content, here's my text. I mean, here's my image. Maybe I want my image to instead of being like one after another, I want them side by side in 2 different columns. Maybe I want it 3 columns. I'll do that and I'll fully lay that out. And that's basically giving me a blueprint. So then now when I do it onto Webflow, all I have to do is basically take what's in Figma and just redesign it. I mean, not redesign it, like just add all the different elements and make it responsive for mobile and add all the interactions. So that process has really helped me a lot, because maybe if you're trying to like start from scratch, where you're trying to like design and write at the same time, it never works out, because sometimes you get too caught up in the design and you don't know how to tell your story with the content, and then you're just kind of going to go back and forth. So yeah, start with Google Docs and then end off with the kind of how to do all your positioning and all that later on. And yeah, so here is a link to the LinkedIn article I wrote. It's not very long, it's pretty short. And if you do find any use for it, that would be really crazy and great. So because I did write it to kind of help give myself a reminder of what is actually important when it comes to making your portfolio. And yeah, if you have any friends or colleagues that would find it handy, yeah, feel free to share it with them as well.
Yes, thank you, Himesh. Yeah, I really like that article. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, so this is everything for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Himesh. Remember, we meet every Wednesday at the same time in the same link, actually. And next Wednesday we will have a meeting for talking about Scrum. So for the people that doesn't know what is Scrum, is the way the IT companies manage projects. So it's very interesting for you to know how that's work, how is implemented in the companies, and what is the philosophy behind that, because it's very interesting. So yeah, next Wednesday we will talk about that, and I hope to see you.
Sure, actually, and I'll put my email address here in the chat. Yeah, if any of you guys want to stay connected, feel free to yeah, stay connected on email, and I can also just even throw my LinkedIn as well if you want to kind of follow me there.
Yes, actually, it's in the meetup.
Oh, it is in the meetup.
Yes.
True. Yeah, so I can put it there too. So yeah, because yeah, I do post like a status on LinkedIn from time to time to kind of just share the knowledge I have, and even just supporting each other. I know, especially kind of with COVID and remote work, it's not a lot of physical meetups happening. So things like this, virtual meetups, is really important, just so people kind of support each other and stay strong, and yeah, keep the spirits high. Yeah, have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Himesh. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And
thank you, everyone.
Before to jump, I am looking for volunteers for IterateUX. If you want to sign up, you can jump in the IterateUX in that link and see the sign up as a volunteer. So yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye, Himesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much.